did this ourselves.
They're coming. It can't be.
Where is everyone?
Hello, survivors. This is Makeshift back with another edition of Wastelander Stories. My guests this week are all entertainers from Wasteland City who have been around long enough to know their way around the dusty streets of the apocalypse. First up is the voice of Wasteland Radio, second suit of the Wasteland Communication Corporation, and bar-certified Swedish lawyer to the denizens of our foul-winded city. Except that bar is Wasteland Elvis's taking care of business tiki bar. That's right next door to his studio. He is the Swede.
Hey, Makeshift.
How's it going, buddy?
Oh, not so bad.
How does one become a Swedish lawyer?
Well, there's a lot of paperwork involved. The main thing is you have to speak legalese.
And legalese is basically Swedish, if I remember right?
Yep.
Perfect. Second up is one of the founding members of the Last Chance Casino, who's now enjoying free agency. He's the shiny diamond in the rough, the spinning party ball, and go-go dancer extraordinaire. You may see him lighting up a room or hosting only the best swill parties. He's Big Disco.
Why, hello there.
How's it going, buddy?
It is going quite well. I am delighted to be in this weird virtual ether with you.
So remind me what your disco ball suit is made out of. What are all the shiny bits?
Those shiny bits are pieces of CDs, which old folks might know stands for compact discs, thus tie into the name Big Disco.
I never picked up on that. That's amazing.
Wow, I am impressed with that fact.
Like disco discography, but it's also just a man who wants to dance all the time.
Walking Mirror Ball was definitely what I was going for, and you clearly picked up on that. So yeah, I think you're in the right ballpark.
Awesome. And last but not least is that fiery nuke with an explosive personality. She's the madam of the Molotov Molly's variety show. You may see her late on a Friday and then first thing on a Saturday when it's time for boozy yoga. She's Mitzy Mayhem.
Hey there, nerds. What's up?
And Mitzy, thanks so much for filling in. I know you got the least notice out of everybody today.
No problem. Happy to be here. I have a very busy schedule, what with quarantine and everything.
Don't we all? Oh, fantastic. I'm really excited, guys, because I'd mentioned that you're all entertainers in some facet. We have Wasteland Radio, we have a stage performer, and Disco, I think you're always looking to make people smile. Is that about right?
That is indeed about right. The things that make people smile are sometimes very strange things, but I'm usually there for it.
Disco doesn't need a stage to be on.
That's true.
Disco's always on.
With that, Disco, how would you like to kick things off? Because I know you've got a story about a lost Wastelander who needed to track down some things.
I do. The end of the world, there's a lot of stresses involved. As I think everybody might be learning a little more than we'd like right now. So I had kind of a feel-good story I wanted to throw out there.
I love it.
And it charts a course from hubris to whatever the opposite of hubris is. And that's where we could start if you want to do that thing.
Yes, please.
Cool. I feel like it's always important to defer to the host of any situation. It's an important precedent to set because I am usually the host of the situation, and God damn it, you better defer to me. So,
am I just completely throwing you off here?
It is
like
all good.
One thing throwing us all off because usually the person making us feel good is Mitzy.
Aww.
So true.
I am struggling to remember a time when I felt bad around Mitzy. So, cheers,
Right?
friend.
You guys are entirely too kind.
All right. So, fun facts about Big Disco. I am not very crafty or good at making things, which is a little bit of an outlier, I think, in the Wasteland community. And a thing I respect about a lot of Wastelanders is they're way better than I am at making shit and doing clever things with physical stuff, right? But I'm good at gimmicks and concepts. So I've been able to ride this one gimmick for a long time, and it's worked pretty well for me. But for people who, these physical things and crafting is like a big deal for them, and that's like part of how they interface with this event. An expression of their joy or thanks or whatever is to give little trinkets, right? And I'm sure all of you have received little bits and bobs from people all the time. Of course, there's classic, logo bottle caps, but there's all sorts of little like medals and things. And if it's a thing I can immediately pin to my costume, I just will, and that's the end of it. So
Same.
know that,
That's
everyone.
awesome.
If you want to give me something. But if it's not that, then I politely accept it and put it in a designated pocket for this. And as soon as I get back to my tent, it is going in the bottom of a box. And I still appreciate it. I still love it, but I don't know what the fuck to do with it. And that can kind of throw me off. So at the bottom of my costume box, it's just been accumulating this like layer of I realize I'm doing some visual references here, which are not going to translate at all, but this layer of paraphernalia, and most of it is, you know, the whatever, but some of it's some cool stuff. I had a War Chief Grimm signed playing card.
Oh, wait. I'm going to interrupt you right there. I don't know if everyone knows this, but this show, Wastelander Stories, now has a drinking game that if
Oh
someone
my.
mentions War Chief Grimm, we all drink. So here's to our first
didn't
drink,
know
though.
anything
Cheers.
about such things. I guess I must drink now. Whoops.
Okay, keep going.
Yeah, so I've got all this stuff, and some of it's like some pretty rare collectibles that because I am a known figure and whatnot, you know, have easier access to than a lot of other people do. A couple years ago, I'm doing my blackjack shift. I'm coming up near the end of the shift, and at the casino, we've got a system where, you know, everybody's got their role at a table, and we've got a few people, our pit bosses, just kind of floating around, seeing if anybody needs help with anything. And as soon as I get off my shift, one of the pit bosses comes up to me and says, "Hey, we've got a guy here. He's been playing all weekend. This is Saturday night, so last night. He's been playing all weekend. Big fan. He was collecting all this stuff. He set it down under a table, and it's gone. And I've got like a million things going on. Can you just go help deal with this?" And this is when I was boss of Last Chance Casino. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go. At very least, I'm going to try and make this guy feel better about the fact that he lost all his crap. So I go over there and I take him around to everywhere he's been and like get him past the crowds to go look everywhere and, you know, see if we can find the thing. Can't find the thing. He's really appreciative that I've like taken him for this time, and I invite him back to my tent for a beer. And while we're just kind of talking and bullshitting, and you know, he's not like crying or anything, but he's kind of broken up about it. It occurs to me, this is what I need to do with all that crap at the bottom of my box. So I open up my costume box and pull aside my costume items, and I just start scooping out collectibles that people have given me, and I'm like, open your bag. And I start dumping it all in there. And so he ended up with a bunch of other people's bottle caps and the signed person who I won't name again's playing card, and like a few other like pretty high value things that I'd acquired since 2011. And he just lit up, and it made his fucking day. That was his
so
first year,
cool.
and
That's
I think
great.
I like to think that person will come back. I mean, this was a few years ago. I hope they have come back. Yeah. So if you find me in the street and you want to give me your crap, I may not use it, but I will make sure it gets used well.
That's so cool. And I never thought of Wasteland as a place to go trick-or-treating. I'll just show up to Disco's tent with like a pillowcase, just like, hey.
There's a lot of serious diplomacy that happens in Disco's tent. So if you ever want to come by for a diplomatic meeting makeshift, just use the special knock. I'll be there.
You just cap or treat, yeah. Like
Oh my God. I have that same box and I have that same stuff. I'm pretty sure it's the exact same stuff that you had in the bottom of yours. And I'm always like, what am I going to do with this? Like, I have plans to decorate another costume piece with it or make a backdrop with it, but it is tough to figure out what to do with it.
Can I tell you how we solved it?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I want to hear Mitzy's.
Oh.
It's going to be way better than mine.
It's not, but I'm sure yours is delightful. Mine, I just have one of those like trophy case clear cases, and I put it upside down and I just fill it up every year. So it's like the sand from every year and all of the stuff from every year gets layered. So like all of my caps go in there. Anything I can attach to my costume, all of it gets layered up in there.
Where did those go?
The caps or the stuff that can attach to my costume?
The trophy thing that you are creating in this process.
Yeah.
It sits in my bedroom. It's just in my bedroom, like at all times. And then I bring my little temporary bucket that I keep in the cuddle bucket with me for that year's stuff. And at the end of the event, I come home and I dump it on top and add the new layer.
So great. And
That is way cooler than mine.
but now you got to share yours anyway, Swede.
No, that's just gonna be a letdown. Okay, so
Let me down gently.
So I've kind of compared to the other two distinguished guests here. I've been way more of a Wasteland recluse than anyone. In that, I wouldn't say like I'm an unknown Wastelander, but I hang out in a dark room most of the event. However, I was there for the very beginnings of the Wasteland City Post Office, and one of the things we ran into almost immediately with the Wasteland City Post Office, this is back in 2013, is people would want to like barter stuff for mail services, or like, yeah, I want a postcard, but I don't want to give you money. Can I like give you these weird things instead? And we always said we'll entertain any reasonable barter, and we just ended up with a lot of stuff that was really funny, but also not useful. Sometimes it was useful. I remember at one point, I think we might have like ended up with a tribe member out of this. I won't name names to embarrass them, but I think we bartered like some fresh tomatoes, which like in the context of Wasteland was like, oh, holy crap, like actual fresh food.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh yeah, that tracks.
And
that fresh produce, dang.
Yeah, I didn't pin that to my costume. But sometimes it's just like funny weird trinkets and stuff. And we ended up with such a pile finally after a couple of years of just weird trinkets, because we started just decorating the post office with them, that we actually found like a big, like full length floor to ceiling curio cabinet on Craigslist, and wastelanded it out, got rid of the glass and replaced it with like some mesh. And I made some like acrylic panels that looked like broken glass, because we were real concerned someone was going to put a leg through it at some point and slice their leg open in our camp. And it's lit.
The WCC
and still in the WCC
always
camp,
think ahead.
to this day, there is a large curio cabinet full of really weird stuff, including a statue, or like a trophy that we got that apparently belonged to the Dukes of the Nuke from back when we were camped together, makeshift in the olden days, that we just found in the dirt outside our front door, and we put it on top of the curio cabinet, and it's been there ever since.
That is fantastic.
I can imagine War Chief Grimm just stumbling through the night and just throwing a trophy at your door, and there you go.
And we're drinking.
Oh, wait.
And cheers.
Yep, cheers.
Yeah, that sounds like something he would do.
The post office, and I mean the whole WCC camp, you guys have that set up like so well, and part of what makes that camp so magical is, one, you invite people in, but two, once they're in there, there's stuff everywhere.
It's I think a lot of people think our camp is way smaller than it is, because we kind of have, I mean, because the camp frontage isn't that big if you just look at the building, because we've got like the post office windows. There's two of those now, so it's a little bigger, and then there's the main entrance, and then they kind of assume that that's it. But if you go in, there's a lot of square foot. It's a lot larger than my real house that I live in. Our Wasteland house is way bigger than my real house.
That's hilarious.
And even if you explore the whole house, there's other areas that are like quote unquote outdoor that are still themed. And also a lot of people don't realize that there are rooms in the house that we don't bring the public into. Like there's rooms that are for viewing, but there's more rooms than that, and that's also all decked out.
Yeah,
because we're crazy.
I have recovered from some very poor decisions in some of those rooms, and I can attest they are quite nice.
I've been woken up in one of those rooms by said disco.
Oh my! Wait, that was in the living room.
That was my bedroom at the time. The house was much smaller then.
That was a fun night for one of us.
I feel like I need to. It's a very short story, so I feel like I need to interject with it. Nowadays, the WCC house is pretty big. There's a lot. I don't even know how many rooms there are off the top of my head, because there are a lot of them. The first year, it was just 3 rooms. So we really had to like pack everyone in bunk beds to make sure everyone had a place to sleep. Right. And we were still having people sleep in the living room at the time. And one of those beds was mine, and it was on the top bunk. So right when you walk into the lobby, on the left, there was a bunk bed, and on the top bunk was my bed. I was asleep, and I wake up because someone is touching my face.
No.
Now, my partner is there, So that was like not super surprising. But when I opened my eyes, it's two infamous Last Chance Casino ruffians, Big Disco and Ace Hole, I believe was his Wasteland name.
Asshole, yeah.
Is he still going? I don't think I saw him.
He was there for a couple days last time.
Okay. And they're both just touching my face, like with their hands. Not like in a rough way or anything, just like stroking my face.
We both have a very high degree of respect for the Swede. I would never touch his face in a rough way unless he requests.
Right. And I was just very surprised by this and confused because this is how I woke up. And it's not like this was the morning or anything. This was like middle of the night. I'm waking up to these two strange men stroking me. And you know,
Like you
while
do.
it was, right, like while this was a very sensual experience for me, it was also confusing. And I can't really attest to the state of mind of Big Disco and Acel, but maybe he can go into what was going on there.
Well, neither of those states of mind were sober, as one might be able to infer from the context of the situation. I can say I did not realize that the Swede was asleep when I went to engage. I had been given a piece of information by one of his tribe mates who we were hanging out in the same room for a while prior to this moment. So
Okay.
I had asked them, I don't remember exactly what I asked them again, not sober, but they said something to the effect of, oh, he's right there. And being already in the same room for some time and him being there, I assumed, again, not in the best of mind states, that he was awake, even if not an active participant at the moment in this conversation. And I was incorrect.
I can sleep through almost anything. I am a very powerful sleeper.
And I know that you're up early to start up Wasteland Radio, and you're up pretty late at night. So when you decide it's time to sleep, you crash hard.
I pretty much have to. We usually get Wasteland Radio going. Some of it's automated now, so I actually don't have to get up as early anymore. But usually I'm out the door of my sleeping compartment, which is now closed because of people like Big Disco here. I'm just kidding. I'm usually out the door by 8 a.m. And I mean, if I'm in bed before 3, I'm happy about it. That doesn't always work out, but there's been cases where it's just like, that's too much. I just have to go to bed. And I've always had the ability to sleep through kind of anything. I feel very lucky in that regard because our camp is kind of centrally located, so it's loud until morning.
Yeah,
that will never be me. I am an 8-hour sleeper, and
That is a very similar schedule to the burlesque yoga circuit.
Yeah.
So speaking of which, Mitzy, how did boozy yoga get started?
So it kind of started as a joke, honestly. It started, man, I don't even remember what year it was. It had to have been like 3-4 years ago now, out at Uranium Springs at one of the detonation events. We were just joking about like, oh, we should do yoga in the morning. Yeah, but like drunk yoga, because who's gonna be sober in the morning? And so I wandered over to the rec room and we just started doing up this boozy yoga thing. And then it kind of caught on, which is bizarre and horrendous to me, because now I have to be up in the mornings to do yoga. But it's a blast, and it is ridiculous, and it's not real yoga. It's just me sitting there like screaming into the nothingness that like, my bones hurt, everybody. Do yours hurt too? Let's drink and pretend that they don't.
That's yoga, right? Screaming into the nothingness?
I think that's a pretty accurate description for yoga in general. And Tracy Lynn with the Wasted Saints is an absolute saint and an actual yoga person, and for some reason lets my horrible little dirt gremlin ass get up on stage and host boozy yoga there at Wasteland, and I don't understand how or why she allows me to do this thing.
Well, judging by I've never been because I don't wake up
because it's in the mornings.
Yeah, and plus I take a long time to like get ready. I don't know how people like they're up and they're ready to go. But
you have no excuse.
I know.
Make it happen.
But from the pictures, I always see like it's a popular thing that fills up.
Yeah, some actual traction. Like it fills up every year, which blows my mind because I'm like, why are you awake? Y'all should be as hungover as I am. What are you doing?
Even at Detonation, it's pretty big.
Even at Detonation, it overflows the rec room. Yeah.
if someone is listening to this podcast right now and doesn't have a Wasteland name and needs one, Actual Traction, pretty good one, I
Ooh,
think.
yeah,
That is a
Actual
great
Traction.
Wasteland name.
Nice.
I
Also, the
love
name
it.
of someone's next band.
I love I started a thread on the Apocalypse Post Facebook, and I'm not the first one to do this, but Wasteland names that don't exist yet, and they are
Mm,
always amazing.
yes.
Like someone needs this. But then of course, once you say it, it becomes less cool for someone to use.
Right, yeah, because then it's not an organic name
I don't know.
anymore.
Uh-huh.
I've named like over 10 people at this
Nice.
point.
Really?
Yeah. Some of them include Bad Liar, Firebrand. I mean, I guess I could list off a bunch of things that have no real like numeric weight outside of context. So I'm not going to do that. But trust me, I'm good at it.
Nice. That's hilarious. In the Dukes, we have a thing where if you don't have a Wasteland name, we just send you out on Saturday night, and you are not allowed to come back to camp until you have your name.
Nice. I like
Yep.
that tradition.
I will say though, I'm a big believer that like the name has to be right for the person, and there are many people for whom that experience is being gifted a name from someone else. But I think it is totally legit for people to come up with and own their own name if it is the right.
I chose my own name. Mine was my own choice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think having a Wasteland name is a valuable experience, but it doesn't have to be a hazing experience.
Yeah.
Just not to talk shit on the way you guys are doing it in the Dukes.
Right.
Oh no,
I mean,
we have
pick
had
my name.
You didn't pick your name because you
No.
were the
Country
only
picked
Swede
it
at
for
one
you?
point.
No, it's just that like the vowels required to pronounce my actual name aren't really available in English. And
That's fair.
my first Wasteland was a bunch of people who gave up and just started calling me the Swede.
Perfect.
Can you remind us what those vowels are?
No.
And
I've completely divorced that from Wasteland at this point. It's not worth it. Because otherwise, I just spend my whole day with just a bunch of people
maybe
coming
this
up
is
to me
maybe this is a
and
better
trying
way to ask you.
mispronounce my name.
Swede, what is your legal name?
Oh, no. No, I don't. I
no,
do
we do
not share that
Wasteland
with
names on this
Wasteland
show.
anymore.
That's fair.
Too many people showing up at your doorstep, Swede?
I've had a lot of weird conversations in places I would not expect with people that I don't know but have met me. And this is not on them in any way, because I have met them legitimately. And very often I remember parts of that conversation. But I mean, everyone here knows what it's like to meet hundreds and hundreds of people.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And especially like if you're meeting them in a context where you're just meeting a bunch of people every day and then you're running off to your next engagement, I'm bad with names. I'm really bad with names. I remember faces.
Same. That's exactly. I will remember your face. I will never remember your name, and I hate that. I hate not having that skill.
I feel this. The thing that I do remember, and that if somebody comes up to me and I don't remember them, I ask for this information, is if we did a thing together, if we had a moment, if we had an experience together, like tell me what we did together and I will remember that. So somebody comes up and they're like, don't you remember them? Like, explain it to me, and I may not remember their name, I may not remember their face, I may not remember their whatever costume, but like if we did a weird thing together, I will remember that. And if you tell me that, we cool.
Yeah. By the way, Wastelanders, you're not allowed to change your costume
Ever.
in front of me, because I will remember you by your costume. And if you change, if you're a different character, you're gone.
Also, if you could
That's the only reason I recognize Big Disco.
Yeah, if you could be your Facebook profile photo and your Wasteland person at the same
Yes,
time, that would
yes.
really help me a lot.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. So yeah, I think we can all admit that as Wastelanders, we almost never fully know what we're doing. And I know, Swede, you have a story about the WCC, especially in your early days when you guys were trying to figure things out. Do you want to go ahead and tell us that story?
Was I supposed to narrow this down to one story about how we didn't know what we were doing?
Good luck.
That's the story. Of the
Yeah,
Right. That's the story
story.
of the WCC. So the reason this came up is the WCC is known for not a lot, but we are kind of known for being like put together as a tribe.
You look very put together.
We have a lot of, and part of that is a show, and part of that is real. We do have like organizational capability. We have a lot of infrastructure that goes into getting so much stuff to the event unpacking it, having it work, and then packing it back up and getting it out of there in a day.
Mhm.
And I do have a funny anecdote about how people are sometimes confused by like what is a show and what isn't. Where Jared, shout out to Jared Butler, came looking for me at our camp, and kind of the most obvious interface of our camp to the public is the post office. So he walks up to the post
Uh-huh.
office window and he asks if I'm there, and the person working the post office window says, "I'll call him," picks up a desk phone, dials the number, and makes a phone call. And Jared was getting like, I mean, this is retold by the post office worker, visibly irritated. Like, why is this guy running a bit? I actually need to talk to the Swede. And my experience of this, of course, is I'm in the Wasteland radio studio, and the producer says there's a phone call. So I pick up the phone, and I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Jared's here. Can you talk to him?" Of course I can. And he just hands the phone to Jared, who's like, "What are you doing? Like, why are you playing this bit with me?" And no, we have phones because we have a
That's
big group. A
amazing.
lot of people are all over the place. It has a built-in PA system. It plays music. Like, yeah, we have phones. And
You should have put him on hold.
we do have old music. You can also call the bar, which is great for prank calls in the evening. Is just sneaking into our lobby and using the phone to call the bar. Anyway, so that's that's just to set the bar for like, is our camp like put together? Like, yes, we have a phone system. We can
Yeah.
page people. And I've had the experience from tribes that are, I don't want to say up and coming because that sounds conceited and ridiculous, but tribes that are younger than us, feeling like they can't get to that level. And I just wanted to like share the fact that like we were not good at this from like our first years. So the first year that I went to Wasteland was 2011, and
Hey.
the WCC was a lot smaller than it is now. And what my first little anecdote of times we did not have our shit together is we made our entire camp out of a parachute. Now, the
Uh-huh.
objective of having a camp was like to provide like some kind of shade and shelter. So what a parachute does really well is catch wind, and what it does really poorly is provide shade. So what we had was a hot box that was impossible to keep in one place. So that was fun. Among the things we neglected to bring were things like chairs or any way to sit in the shade. So it like our first year was an unmitigated disaster. We had no idea what we were doing. We didn't like bring enough water. I got very drunk, like in a bad way. It was just terrible.
Bad
And we
first
decided
year,
to come back anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And almost every year since then has been a slow, incremental process of trying to just like fix the stuff we were the worst at the year before.
Uh-huh.
So the
Yep.
next year we decided, okay, we can't do a tent because there's struggles regarding using tents for like big things. And we can't rope our antenna tower onto the back of a pickup truck with sisal. We decided that was a bad idea. So we built like a better tower truck, and we decided to build a house at Wasteland. But once again, we had no idea what we were doing. So we made the house like way too sturdy. So it weighed way too much for two people to even put onto a trailer. Things we thought would take an hour took like 8 hours.
Uh-huh.
Stuff fell off the truck on the freeway. Again, not unmitigated disaster this time, but like barely mitigated disaster. I think of all the new people, because Wasteland 2012, we brought a lot more people than the two who went to Wasteland 2011. And I think
Right.
like 3 of us returned after that. It was such a harrowing. We worked our people into the ground to the point where they like didn't want to come back. And that's embarrassing and awful management. And that's on us completely. So, I mean, some of those people were never coming back anyway. But for some of them, I really feel like we just pushed them way too hard. And that's a bummer and something that maybe other people should learn from. But the reason I bring it up is to say that like however bad you think you're doing, like all of the tribes who have quote unquote become something at Wasteland have been awful at some point and
Oh
have
Yeah.
god,
made huge
yeah.
mistakes.
Oh my.
I'm just you don't have the
That's-
listeners don't have the benefit of the video feed here, but yeah, I can just see the agreement in everyone's face of like, oh, thinking back to terrible
Oh
things
yeah.
they
Mhm.
Yep.
We're
Yeah.
all getting flashbacks at this point. We're like, oh yeah, I remember.
Yep. So that same year was my first year at Wasteland, 2011, and
Mhm.
I was not in the Dukes of the Nuke yet. I was with my own tribe called the Scribes, and we were basically just the group that were going to do the videos. We had the spot right outside the front gates. I had just bought a military GP tent. That's the small, like 12-foot
Oh yeah. Yep.
olive drab tent, and it's held together with sticks and ropes. So I was really prepared. I set up this tent. I lived in LA at the time, and I took it down to the park and I set it up in the park, and I was able to do it by myself, which was, it's almost impossible to do the GP tent, but I figured it out. So I was like good to go, except it had typical like tent stakes, the little aluminum guys that are like 6 inches
no.
long. And I was like, it held up the tent fine. I'm going to be so good.
Oh,
So
my
we
sweet
showed
summer
up.
child. No.
So we showed up, and now it's a crew of 3 or 4 of us trying to put this thing up in the sand of H Park, which is about a foot of loose playa, loose beach sand.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, it was like a couple inches of loose sand there, and then like the next bit was just hard as rock dirt.
The caliche. Yeah. It's just
Yeah.
concrete hard. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we're struggling to put this tent up. And this is when I met Chops, because he pulled up on his
chops.
motorcycle with like nothing.
Yeah.
That sounds right. Yep.
He had like a bed sheet that he like basically roped down to the ground off of the bike. That was going to be his camp for the week. Anyway, he came over in his thong. No, not his thong. His
loincloth. That was the
his
loincloth.
loincloth.
Yeah.
Yep. And he's looking at us, seeing how hard we're struggling, and he just like he picks up a rock and he starts using the rock to hit the top of these really crappy stakes and just bending them over and just like basically bending them over and then just planting them as deep into the dirt as he possibly could. We still can't get our GP tents to stay up all week, no matter how long a stakes we get, because once the wind hits them, once like things move around for a couple of days, we're just constantly going around, tightening up ropes, replanting our stakes. It's an all week struggle.
Are
for
you
sure.
still using stakes?
Yeah.
I got to give a shout out here to Spud.
Yeah.
When I saw that video of him with the lag bolts and the tower and the winch, that changed my life. I went out and bought 18-inch lag bolts and like, holy shit, my life is so much better now.
18-inch lag bolts and a portable
Impact driver.
Yeah. You're
Well,
golden.
I haven't owned that tent for a couple years now. I've been bringing my camper and hiding it in the back of the camp. So it's the rest of the Dukes that need to up their game.
Yeah. The cuddle
Definitely
bucket
a
changed.
much more viable, much more expensive solution to this problem.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. The cuddle bucket changed my life. I will never wasteland in a tent again.
And what's the cuddle bucket?
Oh, the cuddle bucket is my little camper trailer. Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. Which I bought off of Doug Corbin, one of the like OG Wastelanders. So it has been in the Wasteland family. And when
that's
I
great.
someday retire, it will go on to some other Wastelander.
Okay, but what was your setup before you got the cuddle bucket, and how bad was it?
It was a Ren Fair tent. It was square, and it caught the wind like a sailing ship on the sea. And
Was it made out of like sailcloth?
It was made out of canvas. Yep. And my very first year, I stood in the wind, holding up my tent out of sheer force of will, and just like praying that someday the wind would end so that I could finish building my tent. It shredded the tent, and someone had to loan me one. Like that tent was gone after that year.
God.
2016, the year of the windstorm. I know everybody's got like their windstorm stories, but part of mine was spending an hour with my now wife in our bender, which was not a very structurally sound thing, but the kind of whalebone frame style thing with the 2x4 on top.
Yep.
And we spent an hour just holding onto it.
I think we've all been there. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
Okay, do you want real quick my windstorm story?
You mean 2014?
I think I know
Yep,
this
that
one.
was-
And yes.
Makeshift knows because I slept in Makeshift's tent after this story.
2014 was the year my Ren Fair tent was destroyed.
Was that Uranium Springs too?
This was at Uranium Springs.
Ah,
Oh, I know this story.
Yeah. So after we built our first house at Wasteland Weekend in 2012, because tents blow away and are terrible, we decided to take part in the grand experiment that was Uranium Springs. And it wasn't detonation yet.
Wheels of
This was
Fire.
the second year was Wheels of Fire.
Wheels
yes.
of Fire.
Salvage and then Wheels of Fire. So this was the first year of Uranium Springs. We pre-built a house, and at Uranium Springs you can kind of if you get a plot, you can put up permanent structures. So we actually built the whole building in LA and trailered it out there in pieces and reassembled them on site after like leveling some ground. So this was a fairly small house. It was a 12 by 12 room and an 8 by 8 room or an 8 by 12 room put together. It was all like pressure treated lumber. It was super heavy. And we had figured out this new way to keep the roof on more securely. We put tarps over and then we screwed these slats of wood down into like the frame through the tarp. So it was like clamped on. Because the previous year we'd have problems keeping the tarps on. They would like shred and tear off in bad ways because it gets kind of windy out there. In ways that Wasteland, like people who've never been to Uranium Springs but go to Wasteland, when they complain to me about wind, I just like giggle at them because like, oh, you don't even know.
Yep.
So the first night of the second year, we come back. Our house is intact. There's basically nothing wrong with it. We put on these new roof tarps that we figured out how to attach them better. And everyone's partying because it's the first night of the event. Myself and my partner Marie go to bed. And we're laying in the house and the wind is kicking up something fierce. The whole house is rocking around. It's not like anchored to the ground anyway because it's just so huge and heavy. It's just rocking back and forth, and like the door keeps flying open, so we have to like rope the door shut somehow. And this is just a real house door that we framed in. And then I remember my partner saying, like, should we like try and do something with the house? Should we like hold it down? And I'm like, I don't know that we'll like our two bodies weigh enough to make any kind of difference in this situation. Like, what are we gonna do? And like as we're saying this, the house tilts up a little bit, takes off about 8 or 9 feet straight up into the air. And I can see it. It tears off the floor tarps. So we're still laying on the ground. And I see the whole house just like in the air in front of me. And the only thought going through my head was like, this is going to really hurt when it comes back down. And then it tilted over and flew to a hill and just smashed itself to pieces. And then a light showering of rain came down and hit us as we were laying there in our sleeping bags. Like, okay, that just happened.
Everyone but boy, that roof stayed attached.
Oh, yeah. It carried the whole weight of the house.
Good thing that didn't tear away.
Everyone on the dance floor comes running up, not to where we are. They run over the wreckage of the house, like yelling our names. Like, oh my God, we got okay. Like,
they assumed the floor was attached as well.
Like, naked in our sleeping bags, like, hey guys. I think at Meteor Crater down the road near Winslow, they measured 117 miles an hour on the wind that night.
Woof.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep, that was 2014. That was a nightmare.
Yeah. I remember I brought the GP tent there, and it was standing up pretty good, but I had already tried to go to sleep too. So I was in my bed, and I felt the wind come, and the GP tents, they don't have a floor. So my big thing is like, oh man, there's going to be so much dust in here. But somehow it stays up, and I feel the gust of wind come and go, and then I hear, the whole post office blew away. And I was like, what?
Oh, and for everyone who's never been there, like the tent that he was sleeping in was like, what, 30 feet from our house?
Yeah. Yeah, it was like, just down the hill.
There.
Yeah. And I ran up and I did catch you guys in the bed. And I was like, are you okay?
I actually have a selfie that we took in bed. My makeup's all smeared out from like probably not 10 minutes before this happened.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was nuts. And so we got lucky because that GP tent, it's made to hold, 7 soldiers or 8 soldiers or something like that. And it was just me and my sister in it. And you were like,
all
hey,
of the WCC.
hey, do you guys have a little extra room in there? Or like, Of course we do.
Nope, no room, just the two of
We
us.
had no backup. We had not brought any tents. We carpooled there, so there was no way we could sleep in a vehicle.
Uh-huh.
Like we only had like a Jeep, I think.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
say
Thanks for
it only
saving
got
our
more
boat.
fun. It only got more fun once you guys moved in.
Oh yeah, I mean, we had a great time at the whole event. But yeah, that was another time the WCC sucked at what we do.
Oh man. So yeah, often at these desert events, especially when we're talking post-apocalypse, things can go wrong, and you just have to kind of go with them and make do. And Mitzy, I believe you are an ace when it comes to the show must go on.
Indeed I am. I have become quite practiced at this point at dealing with the mishaps that can happen when you're trying to be a, insert air quotes here, fancy dancy desert lady. I didn't know there was any other way to do burlesque until like 2 years ago because I started burlesque in the Wasteland, and so I just like got used to all of these weird adaptations. And then I come back to the like Las Vegas burlesque scene, and everyone's like, "What in the fuck is wrong with you? You horrible dirt gremlin! Get out of here!" And I was like, "Is this not normal? Oh shit, okay."
That's amazing.
Yeah, but there's so many little things that you don't think about that can go wrong, that you just kind of have to power through. And like I give this advice to every single one of the new burlesquers that comes in or new performers that comes in. And it's number one, nobody knows your choreography but you. So as long as you keep moving, everyone's gonna know it's fine. because honestly, like there's something's gonna go wrong during your act. It's just a given. I think the very first time I had to learn that lesson on the fly is I had pasties on, like you do for burlesque, and I had a corset on. And so I'm undoing my corset, and my pasties were connected by chains. And the chains connected to my corset. And then I took off my corset to toss it, and both the pasties went with it. just gone. Just gone. I was like, oh no. Okay. How do we finish 2/3 of an act with my arm in front of me? And you make it work. You adjust your choreography on the fly. The 2014 wind year, I lost a piece of my costume because I tossed it up and the wind took it and it landed on someone's barbecue grill 2 camps behind us.
No!
Yep. They came over with their tongs. They're like, does this belong to you? And I was like, yes, it does. Thank you. I appreciate that.
And it's only been
Helps
improved.
distress it.
Right, exactly. It's more distressed now. It's got those nice burned edges on it. There was so terrain comes into play a lot. When we're all at home rehearsing, we're doing it on tile floor or carpet or maybe our nice flat backyards, and you don't remember to account for the fact that you're doing this in the dirt and uneven surfaces. I had a chair routine. And dirt and rocks and uneven surfaces. Or that one year when we did it at it was the Storm Crows camp at Detonation on this slippery ass piece of plastic that they put out. They're like, this will be like a stage. That was like an ice skating rink. That was a nightmare.
Oh wow.
But there was one where I was doing a chair act and I'm going into like my final pose and the whole chair tips over and I end up in a headstand with my chair like resting against me. And like everyone's like, woo, clapping because it's the end of the act and I'm still just holding the pose. And then the music ends and everyone's like, is she gonna get down? And I just had to holler like, can someone come tip me back up? I'm literally stuck like this. You just gotta keep powering through no matter what weirdness ends up happening.
Yeah, and I think Wastelanders are really good at like just accepting whatever happens
We
because
really are.
there's
Yeah.
no getting around it.
We have one girl in the Mollies, Snickerdoodle, who did a performance, and it just every time we see the video, it hurts our souls a little bit because it was a beautiful performance, and she'd been practicing at home and practicing, and it was flawless. And she starts to go for her like power slide move, and she's running, and she's gonna do this knee slide, and you can see it coming, and you see in her eyes this instant before she realizes, oh no, I'm on gravel. Power slides anyway. Shreds
Oh,
her
no.
legs.
Oh.
Just shredded them.
Oh,
But powers through and finishes her act. We get her all cleaned up afterwards. It was all fine. But like,
What
I
a
am
trooper.
I am forever impressed by every performer out there who can
Yeah.
power through less than ideal performance conditions.
yeah.
I'm going to invoke a toast to them by arbitrarily saying War Chief Grim.
Oh, War
There we
Chief Grim.
go. I
Just like
appreciate
Ward
that.
Chief Grim does when he power slides on gravel.
And you've by way also created a new version of burlesque, bloody burlesque.
Bloody burlesque, dirty burlesque. Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to do, back when we were all young burlesquers, we all collectively, and you're trying to do your makeup in the wind, and now by this year I'm like, nope, just slap some eyeliner on and call it good. They can't tell anyway.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love your shows. You guys always put on a hell of a show. It's always, like, I can tell you put in some hours before Wasteland.
We do. We put in a lot of practice, and we love it. We love it so much.
That's so wonderful. And you guys are like, I mean, burlesque as a whole is very body positive, very
Yeah.
open. And you guys are all of that and more.
Oh yeah.
So it's always a pleasure to watch.
Yeah, I discovered it, after I turned 30, so I'm well past the like traditional performer age. But like I've loved it, and it's given me so much confidence and so much of my own like self-positivity that I want everybody to be able to feel that. Like it doesn't matter what you look like or who you are. Everyone should be able to discover that thing that makes them happy and makes them feel strong and confident and badass. And I
So
love
great.
that about alcohol can work. Sure, if that's your thing, go for it.
Mitzy, I want to give you some kudos here because I've seen a number of your shows, and I think I emceed one of them.
You did.
And that love that you all have for what you do really comes through, and that's
thank you.
like the thing I love most about watching you all perform is just how into it you all are. And I'm watching you have a great time doing this thing that you love, and that's an awesome experience. So thanks for that.
Of course, thank you. That warms my heart so much. That's I love doing this, and it's really nice to have an audience so I don't just have to do it in my yard.
It is definitely cool to see how many people in general have grown into a craft through events like this. Like I don't remember.
Oh yeah.
I don't think you'd done a lot of burlesque, at least when I saw you the first time at Uranium
2014
Springs.
was the first. 2014 at Uranium Springs was my first burlesque performance.
Oh my
When I
gosh.
saw your first burlesque performance.
Yeah.
Yeah, same. I think I
And I
have
mean,
footage of it.
That
Yeah.
was good, but I mean, you've taken that to whole other levels since then.
Yeah, watching old videos, you're like, whoo! All right, I put in some time since then, clearly.
Oh yeah, if I listen to old Wasteland radio recordings from our first few times, I'm just like, oh, I'm so
Yeah.
I
sorry
was
to put everyone
immaculate
through
from the
that.
beginning, so.
Yeah, and I gotta say, as for like Wasteland as a whole, it's been magical over the last decade to watch people discover the gaps in our little society and fill them.
Oh yeah.
Think about like how many
Yeah.
jobs have been filled and how many
Mhm.
tribes have like become the tribe to do something new. I mean, Last Chance Casino, WCC, you guys were a couple of the first to like say, here is our job. And if you guys were on Main Street, you would make sense. No, and I don't mean Main Street Wasteland. I mean like Main Street USA. Like to have a casino and then a post office, and it just keeps going. We've got bars now. We've got all sorts of stuff. It's just so cool.
I
Yeah.
feel like when the DXC started putting up their mission board, that was like one of those huge moments of like, oh yeah, that's a thing we didn't have, and now we do, thanks to hard work by people I never get to talk to.
Yeah. It's-
Right.
All those little tasks that have filled in over the years are so impressive. I love that.
And I
It's
think
such a
it
cool way
speaks
to look at like society in general.
Yeah.
Of just like that's how communities grow together.
Yeah.
I think it speaks
discover
to
stuff that needs to be done.
a core value of the Wasteland community, which is like not people have value, everyone has value, but like people are seen as valuable in the Wasteland community if they contribute to everyone having a good time.
Right.
Like if they contribute to the project, if they contribute to this like awesome experience, because we're all going out in the middle of nowhere in the desert, and it would just be the middle of nowhere in the desert if it wasn't for everyone like really putting effort into making it somewhere that we want to be and is worth being. And
Yeah.
I think that one of the things we value about people at Wasteland are people who try to do their part to make that. And their part looks different for everybody, and what people can bring are different. Like it's not a competition, but when you commit to making this thing better for everyone, like that is what shines out there. And that's one of the things I love about the Wasteland community.
Yeah, I love that because you have the people that build these amazing camps that, are so in theme. And then you have people that go around and give these little experiences that, maybe not everybody at Wasteland gets, but they go from camp to camp. And some people will remember that for years. And having those people that bring different aspects of a memorable event to everybody is so cool.
Yeah, I know that when you were with the Last Chance Casino Disco, you guys were kind of the first ones to plan to invite Wastelanders into your camp as opposed to like just Wasteland in general as a means of like entertainment. And that was a great start to what has become like so many tribes having places where people can come and hang out.
Yeah, I think for the first 3 years that we went, 2011, 12, and 13, we were the only interactive attraction. Actually, no, I don't want to discount the post office. But we were the only like interactive entertainment venue.
Right.
Again, don't want to discount the post office, but
not very entertaining.
and it was cool, and that was a neat thing. But in 2014, we suddenly ended up across the street from a miniature golf course, and we were so excited by that, by this idea that like, oh wow, like people are now making these interactive experiences. My cousin, this is a little bit of an aside, but my cousin is really into the whole like immersive theater scene in LA. Not lately, obviously, but and he kept trying to get me to go to all these immersive theater things, and I was conceptually interested in it, but I found myself just kind of like fatigued by the whole idea, and I didn't end up going to any. And I was thinking about it later, and I was like, oh, that's right, because I spend this huge portion of my life designing and participating in a massive immersive theater experience, and like I don't have a need to do a bunch more of it over here. It's a really cool thing.
Which one is that you're talking about?
You guys have been pretending?
Do you go to Ren Fair? Is that?
Right. What we do at the casino, it's something I really like about it, and even though I'm not like all official at the casino anymore, I'm still going to be dealing blackjack there because I love doing that, and I'll be
awesome
guest dealer and whatnot. But that blackjack game that I do, it is really an immersive theater experience, and it's kind of a thing I like about it is it's kind of long form. Like you can come and you can just play a couple hands and fuck around. But I don't know if any of you spent like a prolonged period of time at my table, but there are callbacks. We build relationships with people. Regulars, when they show up at the table again, get like integrated in a special way. And I really try and reward people for investing their time there. It means a lot to me, and I want to make sure that experience gets richer for them every time they come back. That I don't know where that came from, but shit, I like doing it.
In a weird shout out, one of the main reasons that I think I came back after my first year of Wasteland was because of the Last Chance Casino.
Awesome.
Cool. I'm delighted to hear that.
Yeah, because that's a place where I spent a bunch of time, because we had some interactive stuff for our first year, but first of all, no one showed up for it, and second of all, we had no place to sit or any shade, which might have played into that a little bit. But in the evenings we had nothing, so I was just like wandering around, and Last Chance Casino was pretty much the only place you could like walk in and hang out. Like we had the little Rumble Bubble Thunderdome-esque little thing where they had some shows.
I remember that.
And there was the Dystopian Slut Militia
Mm-hmm.
had some music going, but that was like the only things going on in the evening other than the Last Chance Casino, and I ended up like spending my whole evenings there.
Yeah, in the early years, that was like the beacon to get home. You'd end up wandering out through Tent City, and then you're like, "How do I get back?" Oh, the casino. Got it. That's where everybody's headed. Yeah.
In 2011, as we got to the end of the evening, and we didn't have a set close time, we were just like, "Are we done here?" People were so enthusiastic about it that they wanted to keep gaming, so we just turned the casino over to the patrons, and we like selected some people and like, okay, you work this table, you work this table. When you're done, kick everybody out and close the doors, and then we all left.
Amazing.
That's so great. Do you remember back 2012, 13, 14, when if you had lights on at night, you were one of the only tribes? Like
Oh
the
yeah.
Dukes of the Nuke and the
Yeah.
WCC, when we camped together, we put the lights on at night and it was just like flies
You were
to
the
the
night
candle.
spot. Like
Yeah.
for I think 3 or 4 years, I would go out with whoever and do weird shit at night, and then it was always like, okay, but when we're done, we're gonna hit the Duke's fire. And we would come on by and then sit around and kick it with people for another hour or two before we went to bed. Like that was every night, and it was delightful. You guys, you really brought it.
Yeah.
It's how we ended up hosting Wasteland Radio.
Yeah, so true.
It predates the WCC, but they needed someone to run it at night because the command center didn't have power at night.
Oh my God, that's
And
amazing.
the WCC camp was the only place that had electricity. So they were like, "Can you take over the transmitter?" And we were like, "I guess." I mean, and then some things happened, and now it's a whole thing.
I remember in 2011 they had that that whole scene, and there was not a whole lot of theater back in the early days of Wasteland, but there were a few scenes that they set up, and they had tanks showing up on the Dukes of the Nuke, not the Jeep, the Land Rover, the Range Rover, whatever it was, the Toyota Land Cruiser, there it is. And they wanted him to show up at the front gate and have everyone go, so it was like, you know, he's storming the castle, except they were like, we don't have any light. Hey, Mike, can we use your generator? And I was like, do you need light too? They're like, yes. I'm like, okay. So I lit the whole front gate, and that's why it's too loud to understand what he was saying. But yeah, it was interesting, you know, and everyone just keeps filling these gaps, and you always imagine there's going to get to a point where it's everyone trying to entertain people and nobody being entertained, like, you know, too many cooks and no one's trying the soup. But really, it's
a game
like we're all
entirely made of NPCs.
Yeah. But instead, it's like we're all trying each other's soup. We're all going around and enjoying each other's shows, and it's so great.
Yeah.
We also can't forget that there's, you know, I mean, a lot of us kind of know each other, the people who run things at Wasteland, and that circle of people keeps expanding, thankfully, with new people who come in and have new amazing ideas. And we kind of feel like I have people who I'm just continually impressed with, who've done like amazing things for Wasteland, like the Outpost 364, their whole setup.
Oh yeah,
and it feels like that's been at Wasteland forever, and like it's a few years. And,
I think it's
and when you, in any other context, people who I think of as quote unquote new, like I feel bad about it, because in any other context, if you've been doing something for 3 years, like you're not new anymore. Come on.
Right.
It's just that we've gotten too old, so it feels like everything is new. But because we all kind of like know each other or interact with each other in a different way, because, you know, we need help or we reach out to someone and you kind of become connected, it's easy to forget that there's like thousands of people who show up to Wasteland who just show up to Wasteland.
Yeah.
And I've had the opportunity the last couple of years to meet some of those people out in like Tent City, and some of those people don't even come into Wasteland City for the whole event.
Right.
That's so weird.
I think so too, but I mean, that's their experience of Wasteland, right? They're going there to party with their friends in this immersive environment and having all kinds of fun. I don't think we'll ever run out of like, I don't think anyone should ever be afraid to like bring something to Wasteland in fear of like no one's gonna look at it, because there's so many people at Wasteland by
That's
now.
true. Yeah.
And there's so many different varieties of interest. Like you mentioned, people that don't leave camp. Like some people do just want to come hang out by the fire, have a beer with their buddies in costume, and other people like Disco there cannot sit still for a half second.
Sitting still right now is a big problem for me. And I apologize to everyone for all the clicks and pops you're hearing throughout this podcast. It is entirely my fidgeting. Please continue.
Some of us are sharks and we never stop moving. It's fine.
So true. Oh, speaking of which, Disco, this is something I've picked up on over the last few years. You somehow got recognized as someone who can host things and often get shoved into hosting last second. How does that
shoved? Yes.
Yeah. You're like, yes, please, I would like to. What's your favorite thing that you've hosted at Wasteland?
Oh,
what an evil question.
I know.
Who do
Because
I
you've
can't
called out
speak to.
jugger matches and you've done the swimsuit contest, and I mean it's
Yeah.
endless. You've
You know what?
done the
All
roasts,
right, I'm
right?
gonna make one person really fucking happy right now, which is my buddy McAwful of the Rec Room. He reached out to me 2 years ago now. Oh, actually, probably more than that because time has no meaning anymore. But um, asking to collaborate about some stuff at the Rec Room. And he and I now have like kind of a hosting partnership. And at Wasteland, we did a game show which went very poorly. Like he had this great idea for a game show, and he loves like old TV game shows. And we did it, and we got all these tribes involved, and we made all these questions beforehand. And he made signs and like ran back into town and made them. And it turns out like I had watched the show once, and like it was kind of a dumb game show, and our level of investment was very different, but we made it work, and everybody had a real good time, and that kind of cemented, I think, our working relationship. And all the shows we've done since then, our variety shows and whatnot, have I think been a lot better.
Yeah.
So that was a particular.
Yeah, you two are a great duo.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah,
We
agreed.
did a virtual show recently, which was an absolute blast. And we've got another one coming. Can I?
Oh, it was so fun.
Is that a thing I can do?
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well,
if
when
you are
is it?
listening to
'Cause,
this,
I'm not sure when this is going to launch yet. But
if you are listening to this before March 27th, 2021, then on March 27th, 2021, you should come by the Fuck It Fake It Champions Edition, Wasteland's premier lip sync competition. We are going to have people who were badass at it before be even more badass at it now. And you can watch them and laugh and drink with your friends, and we'll probably record it and post it. So if you're listening to this after then, go find it. The internet is yours. You now have a quest.
You should shout out who the amazing
Yeah,
judges
who
are on
are
that show.
the three amazing judges that are going to be
Well,
on that? I wonder.
I don't want to build them up too much because they've already got kind of like an ego thing going on. But one of them is Chops, the Reverend Chops, who you may know. Who is a delightful human. The other two less so, but one of them is Wasteland's Mitzy Mayhem. She is delightful in pretty much all contexts except for this one. And then the Swede, who just because he lives next door keeps like finding a way in. But I hear he knows how to.
Listen, my only goal is to be the last judge standing and get the other two judges so drunk that they can no longer function. I will. There can be only one.
Other than my first year at Wasteland, it's like the only times I've gotten like bad drunk at Wasteland, it's been because of Mitzy Mayhem and fucking Trinkets.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah.
If you haven't tried the nuclear lemonade, cut that shit. Don't drink it straight.
Nice.
How, like, I'm sitting in a judge's chair with a cup. Like, what am I supposed to mix it with?
Yeah, I don't have an answer for that one.
Yeah, no, drink it straight.
Yep, same.
Oh my gosh. Guys, what's the best or worst drink or food that you've had at Wasteland so far? Anything really stick out? Because I remember
eyeballs?
what?
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got nothing. What? Tell me
Did you
more.
say
Remember being to a
eyeballs?
Legio feast?
Oh,
I
yeah.
have,
I
but
haven't
they didn't
eaten
have.
eyeballs at a Legio feast.
Okay,
but I've
so
eaten
Yeah, I haven't done the
many other
eyeball.
tasty things.
I've had eyeballs before, and I mean, obviously, there's a texture thing that is not great for modern mouths when it comes to eyeballs. It's not bad because it was eyeballs. It's bad because it was eyeballs with sand.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Although the heart is so good. They roast that heart perfectly.
All about
I
that cheek.
like heart.
Oh,
Yeah.
cheek is great.
The cheek is real
Cheek
good
is
too.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
just
it's-
legitimately good. But sandy eyeball is the worst food I've had at Wasteland.
I once got invited to try some alligator that was barbecued on site.
Ooh, night lunch.
and-
Yeah.
And
Yep.
honestly, this was some of the best alligator I've ever had, except that was the first bite. And then the second bite got into raw alligator.
No.
No, that's
And I was
not
like, no, this isn't going to work. I think I just got the right piece, you know?
Yeah.
But then, yeah, at Legio, they fed me. They had like a polenta and like steak medallions. Like they
can't
were going
believe
all
the
out
thing
that night.
How they put that all on. It's
Yeah.
just
Legio
absurd.
amazes me every single year. Yeah.
Being their neighbor is one of the greatest things about our current location.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, it's interesting. Some of the cooks that come to Wasteland, there's a lot of people that they just want to cook. Like they
Yeah.
don't really want to
Yeah.
explore. They just want to set up next to their smoker and just have at it and feed their tribe. And
If
that
Chef-
is
any of those
brilliant.
people want to join the WCC,
Right. Yeah. Chef Mechanic
inviting
and his like whole nudes noodles situation. So good.
yeah,
Nice.
Yeah.
food.
Yeah.
I think I was on
Meanwhile-
your meal plan makeshift the last year I went.
Oh yeah, the meal plan it's not bad. It can be a little chaotic because we've got Mongo and Bacon bring up this smoker, which is built in like an old newspaper kiosk thing. You pump the quarter in, open it up, and there's your newspaper. Well, instead
amazing.
it's like brisket or like roast or something. So they'll smoke it in there, except it's not a real smoker, so it's really tough to set your temperature. And so, I'm always running in and out of camp, and I'll come back to be like, hey, meat's going to be done in 45 minutes. I'm like, okay, I'll be here. 45 minutes later, hey, meat's going to be done in 45 minutes. Like, what's happening? Like, it's not getting up to temperature. Oh, okay, I'll be back. And then I come back again and it's gone.
No.
Yeah, our cooking has always been off. I have a couple new recruits I'm trying to bring into the tribe that they're those people that just want to come hang out and cook.
I'm not saying it's because of this, but remember when the Dukes and WCZ camped together, you had access to something we call a kitchen.
Yeah, that was really nice. That was really nice.
I love all y'all that cook at Wasteland. I don't bring anything to heat food with at all.
We just
Really?
have too many people
No.
there for too long is the thing for the
Uh-huh.
WCCs. We have to have like a full kitchen and running
Yeah.
water because like I'm there for 2.5 weeks minimum.
That's fair. Yeah.
And
I'm usually
for
there
a
for
lot of
8 to
that,
10 days. Yeah.
there's
Uh-huh.
no time to like there's people in our tribe who are very public facing, and then there's people who aren't very public facing, but who we could not live without for a
Uh-huh.
minute, whose
Sure.
job are things like, oh, they're really good at like rigging stuff or putting things on top of other things,
Mhm.
or just people like Powerhouse in our tribe whose main job is literally making sure whoever needs electricity has it and making sure there's water in the water tower.
Nice.
Yeah.
And like without that, like how do we even do anything? Because when I need water, I go turn a spigot and water comes
Yeah.
in my cup. I don't have time to mess with a bunch of nonsense.
You guys do have the best infrastructure in the Waste, I'm
It is
convinced.
really impressive. Yeah. My camp is continually horrified by the fact that I managed to stay alive for 8 to 10 days on eating about 3 cans of ravioli and like my hobo breakfast of tortilla, that squeezy easy cheese stuff, and some bacon, and some like
This sounds
pre-cooked
wrong.
bacon.
No.
And like I'll eat
Mitzy.
one of those, and then like 2 days later a can of ravioli, and then just like an ass load of nuclear lemonade. And for somehow I end up alive at the end of this event.
We
I
have a
bring
whole
enough.
program people go through
Yeah.
where people like cook for a day, and then you just eat the other days. It's really genius.
I bring enough like canned food for every meal if I need it, but I rarely go through all of it because my like approach to meals is friendship. So I sign up for like 2 meal plans of other tribes and
Awesome.
pay for whatever their buy-in is for those things. And then I just, when I'm hungry, I wander around and let people I know I'm hungry. And typically people emerge with food. And then I always know that I've got those 2 places I can go and like have a dinner if I need it. It
That's
works
smart,
out,
yeah.
it works out pretty well.
It's amazing.
How's that
Listen-
going to work in like post-COVID times?
Right?
Ooh,
I
good
don't know.
question.
Listen,
Oh, no.
easy cheese is COVID friendly.
Yeah,
I'm just
there
saying.
you go.
Yeah, maybe Mitzy is the one who's like most equipped to survive.
Who's actual apocalypse ready?
Yeah, a
This
pathogen
possum
based-
over here. Yeah. Actual trash right here.
Mitzy
Oh my goodness.
Possum Mayhem.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just one of them little trash monsters.
I tried doing the like canned food and MREs and like granola bars for 1 year, and I couldn't. I mean, you already have problems like just having a BM, you know? And so why would I put anything else in there that's going to make it even harder?
It's fair.
Yeah, MREs are not the way to go.
No,
No, they are not.
No,
You
and
will
you need
poop less, but when you do, oh boy.
yeah. It's always like 3 days after you get there that you can finally go and you're like, "Okay, I'll be able to survive another day or two." It's
Remember when
stupid.
Wasteland used to be that short?
Yes.
Aw,
Oh
Yes,
yeah, yeah.
you could
2011 was Friday through Sunday.
yeah.
yeah. If
Yeah,
you
we
played your
showed up
cards right.
Friday at like 11 a.m. I think, and
Uh-huh.
noon Sunday we like packed up.
Yeah. The
Short
good
enough
old
to
days.
not have to poop. Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing, yeah.
As a guy,
That's why
you
the
could
photos
avoid
remained clean for so many years. Damn.
Oh, they didn't.
No, they did not.
so bad.
And I think all my food came out the other way that first year. So
Oh, no.
Sweet, I didn't realize you and I had such a similar experience in 2011.
That's been another one of my things because I'm run and gun from basically 10 a.m. until 2 in the morning every day, and so I'll have a drink when the sun goes down, not before, and usually one, maybe two on Saturday.
I don't drink most of Wasteland, and I never
Yeah.
drink on Saturdays anymore.
Oh,
Yeah.
God, no. You don't drink on
Sunday is
Saturday.
showdown day. Like, how am I
Yeah.
supposed to do that hungover?
Yeah.
There's no way.
No,
Yeah,
no
at the
way.
casino, we would tell people like Friday night is get weird night, and Saturday like fucking take it easy.
Yep.
See, and most
Yep.
of my nights are performance nights, so my get weird night is usually the like early arrival day, like that Thursday. I'm like, all right, that's my night, and then I'm on duty for the rest of the evenings. But that night, I'm
Yeah.
like, here we go. It's gonna get wild.
Just do one day to solidify your reputation for the week and then chill.
Right? Yeah, and then you just slow sip for the rest of the weekend.
That's a good
Yeah.
way to go at it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
At the
It's kinda-
casino, one of our like rules internally was well, it's sort of the broader one is like handle your shit. But it's like you can drink, you can do whatever you want, but like if you're on shift, be able to do your job. Like that is
Yeah.
the and we operate in the evening and we usually close around midnight. So I would drinking is part of my job there, but I would not get significantly inebriated, and the opportunity to do so would not arrive for me, my responsibilities done, until like 1 a.m. At which point I would take advantage of that opportunity for several hours into the evening, and then that's where sleeping in, I guess, becomes a thing. I'm glad I don't have to run a radio show at 8 in the morning.
Yeah. And I feel like I'm going to send out a disclaimer right now in case anyone is listening that has not been to Wasteland or you're still pretty new at it. Drinking at Wasteland is a really fine line to walk. You cannot drink as much out there as you're used to.
Oof,
Oh,
yeah.
sure.
You need to drink way more water, and you really should count your drinks because if you're going around camp to camp and accepting gift drinks from other people, it adds up really quick. And usually the drinks are pretty strong and made of really cheap booze.
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
the worst news.
The casino's drinks are awful. I don't drink them. But they are basically sugar, water, and flavor powder.
Yeah.
I do want to give a shout out here to my personal sponsor, Coconut Water.
Oh, coconut
Every
water
night
safe
before
for
I go
all.
to bed, I drink one of those big coconut waters, and then I have another one when I wake up in the morning.
Yep, that is
and
a
throughout the
miracle
day.
right there.
Yeah.
Yep. And the last little bit of advice is remember to eat something.
If
Oh,
you
yeah.
feel like it. Listen,
I-
not all of us need to eat something else.
I skipped a meal last Wasteland, and it ended up with me spending an hour in the WCC lobby under the very gracious care of Vaccine, who brought me back to life because I like nearly passed out after just sitting and watching a show, having not eaten in way too long.
And the
Also,
WCC
disclaimer. Oop, go ahead.
I was just going to say the WCC water tower is a great place to cool off.
Not inside it though.
You mean the fountain or
Not in it.
or the water tower?
Both. The fountain,
Okay,
more
yeah.
or less.
Yeah, because the fountain has, it kind of sprays water throughout the whole room, so
Yep.
it gets real cool in there, which is nice.
Yeah.
And
No,
I
it's
was
actually
just going to
pretty
put a
clever.
disclaimer out there that, like, also you don't have to drink if you don't want to. Enjoy the
So
event
true.
however you would
Oh,
like
for
to.
sure.
Standard,
have-
I've had
inclusive.
wastelands where I haven't had any drinks, and we have at least one member in the WCC who doesn't drink at all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's plenty of days I definitely don't drink out there where I'm like, not today.
Yeah.
And it's
The
still a
casino-
blast. Yeah.
Started offering in the last couple of years. We always had a non-alcoholic option now. If
Oh, that's
what
great.
you like is bad Kool-Aid variants,
Well,
but
there's
then
a
occasionally
social
you pick
aspect
juice in it or something like that.
to getting a drink, right? And the social aspect at the casino involving getting a drink is great that we don't have to
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
have alcohol.
Yeah.
And we have sober members.
Yeah. We've got mollies that don't drink. Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense. Like I've had this discussion with people, like how weird it is how many of our social things are tied to like poisoning ourselves with ethanol that we like, oh yeah, I drink some poison every night. It's fun.
Yeah, it's just for fun.
But
Have you guys
especially
been
at
to
Wasteland.
Yeah.
Have you guys been to Doc Schofield's bar?
Yeah.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
spin the wheel and it's like an emotion, and then they feed you a shot of that emotion.
Yeah. It's great.
That is delightful and clever. Like,
Yeah, the regret
props.
tastes like regret. The love tastes like love. It's nuts.
That's fantastic.
Luckily, they don't have one that tastes like nuts.
Yet.
Yet. Now they're gonna add it. There was
Right.
a free
Schofield,
space
if you're
on that
listening.
wheel. And yeah, I'm gonna have to have Doc Schofield on the show because he's hilarious too.
Oh, for sure.
That man is delightful.
Awesome. Let's see, guys. I think we're about there. Anyone else want to throw anything out there?
Why don't you tell us a story, Makeshift?
Ooh.
Oh man, here's the crazy thing. I don't get into much shenanigans at Wasteland.
I've seen
don't
you in
believe-
shenanigans at Wasteland.
Immediately called out.
I robbed the Last Chance Casino once.
Nice.
That was-
See,
that was
that
fun.
counts
That was
as a shenanigan.
Yeah, all right, here we go. This is actually like the first time I was like, guys, I'm playing the game. So there are this was the middle years of Wasteland where we started doing relics.
Mm.
And it was really cool. Some of the tribes would take a single item, and this comes from people stealing things that they weren't supposed to steal. So we started taking a single item that you were supposed to steal, and we marked it with a symbol that said, hey, this is okay. And the Last Chance Casino had Boss Cap's first cap, which was just a tiny little bottle cap mounted on a saw blade, which was then mounted on a wooden board. It was
The
about
heaviest wood we could find.
it was so heavy. And I think it was around Friday night we caught wind of it around the Dukes of the Nuke. Hey, the LCC has this relic, but no one's been able to steal it yet. And Ladyfingers was the one kind of like spreading this around because she was like, we're kind of disappointed no one's got it yet. And I was like, ooh, tell me more. And this happened to be the year that Mongo was teaching everyone how to pick locks
Ooh.
because it was a new skill he got. And so he taught me how to pick locks, and I picked up on it pretty quick. And then we started, the rumors about the relic were popping up, and the LCC had their relic was deadbolted to a wall or something. And I was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna go get it.
To our bar.
Except that one was a decoy. Was that a real decoy?
I don't remember.
It was a really good decoy. And then I finally spotted it behind the bar. But of course, you guys had great security. And here's where I get to take advantage of one of the few things I've got, which is my camera, which gets me into all sorts of places that most people are not allowed to go,
So it's
including
like my personality.
Exactly. And so I was able to slip behind the bar. I remember whoever was bartending at the time looked back at me and was like, hey, what are you doing? And I was like, just getting some B-roll.
Oh, we deserved that.
And meanwhile, I'm in my military overcoat. As soon as he turns around, I look, no one's looking, and I just turn around, I grab this thing, way heavier than I expected it, and bigger than it looked from 10 feet away. And I tried to shove it under my jacket. It wouldn't quite fit. So it's like sticking out, even though I'm covered over. And I like ducked down between your wall, the hubcap wall. I like snuck right through there. And so I'm like, I got it. What do I do? I get back over to the Dukes, and Rob Vash, who is, he's the guy that lives in our armory. And basically sends everyone on missions. So I consider him our missions expert.
Nice.
I was like, what do I do now? And he's like,
He's like the straight man to the rest of your tribe's comic relief.
yes. Yeah. He always takes everything very seriously, and he's always incredibly well armed. But I was like, all right, what do I do now? He was like, I don't know. I guess sit on it for a little bit and see if anyone comes over asking for it. I didn't know that the rules at this time were to like leave behind a calling card or to like send a note so that the game could continue. And this is Saturday night, like Wasteland's coming to an end, and here I am just holding this thing, and that's how it ended. I ended up like having to take it home with me because we couldn't make a deal.
So anticlimactic after all of that. Yeah.
It really was. And then I ended up talking to Boss Cap over the Facebooks and being like, hey, let's make a deal. I want VIP access for all the Dukes. And he's like, do you even have it? I was like, I might. And he was like, no deal. And so I ended up giving it because, coming back into the next Wasteland, I didn't know how much I was going to be able to play. So I just handed it to War Chief. Drink, by the way, sorry.
Mm.
Well, cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. And I said, hey, War Chief, I got you this, as tribute to the tribe, because he outranks me still. Yep. Thanks, guys.
This is going to be a problem.
Who are you talking to again?
That was War Chief. Drink. And so he took it, and I was like, go get us the best deal you can. And I don't remember what the deal was, but it was ridiculously disappointing.
Oh, no.
I think he traded it for like a prop weapon or something really dumb. He was not the best negotiator.
Can I tell you a very short story about the worst negotiator in the Dukes?
Yes, please.
Because it's Mongo. There was this time I was in the WCC camp. I think I was in like the atrium area where the fountain is.
Uh-huh.
And Mongo was standing there with someone else, and I don't remember who it was. So let's say it was Vash.
Okay.
Just to throw Vash under the bus completely here. This person who shall remain unnamed, who is part of a tribe JMC that shall remain unnamed, comes in with a important personal artifact belonging to the Baron.
Oh.
That Mongo really wanted. And he looks at Mongo and says, well, you can't have it unless it's over my dead body, and winks. Insinuating in some way that he's expecting to be killed over this item. And Mongo's response was to look him straight in the face and go, okay, we'll think about it, and walks off.
Nailed it.
So I said, I'll kill you, and then stabbed him and took the thing.
Nice.
And that's
Awesome.
how I ended up getting a grenade thrown at me by Critical Bigs.
I think you skipped a step there.
I used this personal artifact to take over the Mushroom Cloud Lounge. Critical Bigs saw me sitting in the throne, thought I was the Baron, and lobbed a grenade in.
He's always throwing those grenades.
Right.
He's always throwing grenades.
Yep. His kill count it's got to be in the hundreds, but it's mostly the same people over and over again.
At least, like, grenades are not easy to come by. So, like, if you see a Critical Bigs grenade thrown at you and you pick it up, in that last moment of life you have, like, you should be flattered.
Be
That's
honored.
true.
He spent real resources trying to take you out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man. All right, let's wrap this up. Guys, thank you so much for coming along. This has been absolutely hysterical. My face is in pain from laughing so hard.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, this has been an
and putting up with
absolute
our
delight.
Weird bullshit for this period of time.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Mitzy, Swede, Disco, you guys are all amazing members of the Wasteland world. You add so much to the event. I'm privileged to call you all friends. And once again, thank you for coming on.
Likewise, good sir.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
Thank you. All right, guys. Well, that's going to wrap up another episode of Wastelander Stories. If you enjoyed this episode, please send it to your friends. And if you hated it, send it to your enemies, along with a Merle Haggard mixtape. I butchered that, but it's staying just like that. All right, guys. Until next time, stay alive. Hey survivors, Makeshift here to remind you that the Apocalypse Post is brought to you in no small way by our Patreon supporters. Join the ranks for early access and exclusive content with support levels now named for fancy Fallout-ridden factions like the $2 per creation Drifter or the $7 Wastelander. Knowing you've got my back has helped me dedicate more time to this channel, spreading love of the post-apocalypse and less time on stupid real-world stuff. Sign up right now at patreon.com/theapocalypsepost.